Imagine a world ruled not by kings with golden crowns or generals with massive armies, but by a city of merchants armed only with ledger books, ink, and a cold, relentless focus on profit. While the rest of Europe in the 1700s was drowning in the blood of dynastic wars and the vanity of royal palaces, one city was quietly and systematically buying the entire planet, piece by piece, making Amsterdam the invisible financial engine of the global economy. To the outsider, Amsterdam appeared as an orderly, almost obsessive postcard of calm canals and neat brick houses, but underneath this restrained facade lay the most powerful economic machine the world had ever seen. This was a city that didn't need to shout to be heard. It simply owned the debt of everyone else who was shouting. In the 18th century, Amsterdam was the undisputed financial capital of the world, a place where money moved faster than an army could march and where information was more valuable than gold. The city's geography was its destiny. Its canals were not just beautiful waterways but the literal arteries of global trade, carrying goods directly to the doorsteps of merchants who lived in houses that doubled as fortified warehouses. Ships arrived daily from the spice islands of Asia, the sugar plantations of the Americas, and the frozen ports of the Baltic, unloading cargo that would fuel a network of commerce stretching across every known ocean. But unlike Paris or Rome, Amsterdam was not ruled by a divine monarch. It was ruled by a regent class of merchants who understood that true power lay not in land or titles, but in contracts, credit, and shares. This was the laboratory where modern capitalism was perfected. Inside the Amsterdam Stock Exchange, the air was thick not with the smell of incense, but with the scent of paper and ink as men traded portions of voyages that hadn't even begun, creating fortunes out of thin air through speculation and risk management. It was here that the world's first multinational corporations like the VOC proved that a group of private investors could be more powerful than an entire kingdom. Yet, despite this staggering wealth, Amsterdam was a city of deep contradictions and calculated restraint. The prevailing Calvinist values of the time dictated a life of discipline, modesty, and practicality, meaning that showing off your wealth was considered a moral failure. A merchant who owned a fleet of 40 ships and half the tea in Europe would still walk the streets in a plain black wool coat, avoiding the silk and gold lace of the French aristocracy. His house, though tall and elegant, looked modest from the cobblestone streets, hiding its true glory inside. Secret rooms filled with Persian carpets, Ming porcelain, Brazilian silver, and masterpieces by Rembrandt and Vermeer. This was a city of hidden wealth, where the interiors of homes were as rich as the exteriors were plain. Daily life followed a rhythm as strict as a ticking clock. The opening of the markets, the ringing of the church bells, and the scrubbing of the windows were all part of a ritual of order. Cleanliness in Amsterdam was almost a religion. Streets were swept and houses were maintained with a fanaticism that shocked foreign visitors, yet this obsession with order was a shield against the chaos of the outside world. But behind this mask of perfection lay a gritty, darker reality. The city's immense prosperity was built on a foundation of extreme inequality and human cost. At the waterfront, the atmosphere was a chaotic mix of 100 different languages and the heavy scent of tar, salt, and raw sewage. Thousands of dock workers, sailors, and immigrants lived in cramped, damp tenements, their lives dictated by the rise and fall of trade prices and the whims of the North Sea. For the poor, Amsterdam was not a city of golden opportunities but a place of relentless labor and constant vulnerability to disease. The city was remarkably tolerant for its era, welcoming Jews, Huguenots, and political refugees from across Europe, but this tolerance was never a matter of pure idealism. It was a strategic business decision. The Dutch understood that diversity brought skills and skills brought money. However, this freedom existed within very sharp boundaries. Social order was maintained through a system of workhouses and prisons where those who failed to conform were corrected through hard labor. Amsterdam's power was also a fragile one, constantly threatened by the elements and by rivals. Fires could turn entire districts of wooden-framed houses into ashen hours, and the very water that brought wealth also brought the threat of devastating floods. By the mid-1700s, the shadows were growing longer. The rise of London as a rival financial hub and the exhaustion of the Dutch Republic's resources in endless European conflicts meant that the Golden Age was slowly losing its luster. The quiet streets of Amsterdam began to feel less like a growing empire and more like a preserved museum of past glories. Yet, the legacy it left behind is the world we live in today. Amsterdam showed the world that a society could be built on trust, numbers, and the pursuit of profit rather than the glory of a throne. It was the birthplace of the modern financial mind, a place that valued the stability of a contract over the chaos of a battlefield. To walk through the Amsterdam of 1700 was to walk through the future, a world where the quiet scratch of a quill on a ledger book had more power to change history than the roar of 1,000 cannons. It was a city that proved that the most lasting empires are not those built with stone and blood, but those built with paper, credit, and the relentless discipline of the merchant's mind. Long after the great kings of the 18th century were buried in their forgotten tombs, the financial systems born in the narrow houses along these canals continued to run the world, a silent testament to the city that quietly owned the future before it even arrived.